Lounge.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carlos Phoenix with The Lounge magazine, and this is the Indie Lounge, where we talk to independent filmmakers, musicians, and different technology topics. So, today I have a special guest live in California. His name is Robert Montesinos. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. And so, Robert is an actor in LA. Is that right?
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, and I work here. I train here. I study here, and have a good time here.
Sweet. So, give me an idea. One of the things we've been discussing is that you, on top of being an actor, are an app developer. You do write code for iOS products, and we've talked a little bit of some of the projects you've been working on. And there is a product you've been working on that relates to the entertainment industry. So, but before we get into that, let's have some of your background. Let's let people know who you are, what you've done, and how you're involved in the entertainment industry.
Well, I got involved with the entertainment industry because I helped my brother Gino with the short film. And I was in the Navy. I worked on nuclear reactors. And when a nuclear reactor is broken, you fix it. And you bring a lot of people together and you fix it. And you forget about eating. Somebody will bring you food. You forget about sleeping. You just fix it. And when you're done, you're done. So when my brother was having a little bit of he was asking for help to help finish his film, I said, okay, I'll help. I'm going to help my brother, of course. And I reached out to some of my friends, and we put together a bunch of post-production facilities. Apparently, there was some problems with the sound. We got a 3-time Emmy Award-nominated sound engineer to fix it. We got this wonderful film composer to put a beautiful score that was kind of techno-based, so it sort of masked the sound of the camera hum that was boom, 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 boom. So my brother was impressed. He goes, how did you do this? And I'm like, well, this is what we did in the Navy. We helped each other fix stuff because the ship's broken. No one's going anywhere. He said, you should be a producer. And I said, what's that? He goes, a film producer. The guy that helps make the movies. I said, holy crap, that could be a fun career. So I moved to Los Angeles. I was in Canada at the time. And I moved in on my brother's couch. And I started interning as an assistant for a producer, and I learned how to budget films and, schedule a film. And I read everything I could about making films, but a big part of it was understanding what makes one script better than another. And I asked my brother, how do you know what script is better? He said, I don't know. If you want to be a producer, you better find out. So I entered an acting school, in my opinion, the finest acting school in the country, the Beverly Hills Playhouse. And I studied acting like I was in the Navy studying nuclear reactors very seriously. And over a period of time, I said, I love acting, man. Producing is just a job, but acting, oh man, it's just, it's like being my age and being in the NFL or in Major League Baseball. It's just that. So over the years, I've been, steadily climbing, going to my auditions. Every once in a while, I book a job and wind up on TV and or in a movie. Just did a movie with, had a small part, but it was a wonderful experience with Matt Damon. And We Bought a Zoo, directed by Cameron Crowe. And that was the first time I worked with Oscar-level people. The director of photography, Rodrigo Prieto, Oscar-nominated DP. And there we were. I was playing President Hugo Chavez from Venezuela. And, that was pretty much a high point. I've been on TV about 20 times over the years, I guess. Always small parts, but, I love this. And, until the day I die, I hope to be doing this. I have a friend that's just a wonderful actor. He's like 65, been doing it since he got home from Vietnam as a teenager, and his memory's going. What a special kind of hell this must be, because I remember him saying to our acting class, if God herself said, you'll never work again, I don't care. I'll still go to class. I'll still go to my auditions. I'll still rehearse for my scenes. I'll still try to get jobs, whether it's a play, a little short film, a TV show, a big film, whatever. That's what I am. I'm an actor. And now that I see him in this state where, he asks a friend, hey, I heard you got married. And they got married 10 years ago. Wow. It really upped my desire to get as much work as I possibly can before I get to that age.
Wow.
So at least I could say, hey, we did some good work.
Oh, either that or I think I remember doing something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But
well, that's really awesome. Now, even as a kid, did you think that you might be interested in doing anything in relation to acting? I mean, nuclear reactors and acting, huge difference.
Huge difference. But it's funny because I've given this a lot of thought. When I was a kid, my dad used to take us to the movies, and it was Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen, and those were my heroes, and I couldn't see myself doing that, so I went elsewhere. And when I was a little kid, I drew lots of pictures of Navy ships because some of my favorite pictures had like John Wayne and World War II, Pearl Harbor type movies. So when I wound up in the Navy, I was like, boy, I think I made a mistake. So I went for the biggest school that I can get to, and that was the nuclear power training school, because it was 2 years before you were reported to a ship of school. And I did so well in class that they offered me to teach for 2 years. So it was 4 years before I went to a ship. And in that time, my favorite part was the drills, where we made believe that the ship was on fire. We got hit with a missile. We got hit with a torpedo. There's steam everywhere. There's water everywhere. And we had production where we put it together. We had scripts. We had our roles. We had directors. And that was my favorite part, because for about an hour every day that we were at sea, we would run casualty drills.
That's interesting. I mean, that's interesting. I've never heard of anyone, let's say in the military or anything like that, for that matter, related in that way, where it's you're equating it to acting, to recreating a situation.
Oh, when I got into class, it felt the same, except slower, because we had our scripts where we said, shutting this main steam 1 and 2, opening this valve, shutting that valve. This man is dead. We need to replace him. Get the casualty assistance team. And we had all our scripts that we had to say. And then when someone that was senior to you gave you an order, you had to repeat it back. There was no doubt that the order had been duplicated. And then when you said it, when you made the report that you have done this action, the person on the other side had to repeat it back to you before he repeated it to the officer. So we got very good with language. Communication was a huge part of, could you imagine the coordination, 40 guys running a nuclear reactor plant, So communication was very formal, very fast, and very specific. So when I got to doing scenes, it felt the same, except it was much slower. And what was exciting to me is I wasn't stuck with playing one role. I could be a teacher, I could be a cop, I could be a bad guy, I could be in different parts of my life, I could be married, I could be a father, and it just was more expansive. So to me, it's a delicious feeling, and I love when you're working with another actor that has a great attitude, and you start trusting each other to exchange energies with each other.
Right.
It really is something to watch. And I mean, people call it chemistry, but these actors have great chemistry. Like, for example, the people on Friends, that show was fantastic with all the individual aspects, but the chemistry made it $1 billion enterprise, just like Seinfeld. The chemistry, and for me, I've always been a student of energy, whether it's electrical, nuclear, gamma radiation, electronic, heat transfer, water, steam.
So is there a particular type of acting or films that you're really into? For example, sci-fi, fantasy, drama, that type of stuff?
I mean, as a realist, I would love to be the groovy detective in a CSI. Remember NYPD Blues? That was my favorite show. I wanted to be the groovy guy, ex-military detective. But man, the thing that gets me going, believe it or not, is sci-fi. I mean, Star Trek, Star Wars, Alien. I got to see this Prometheus. I never saw it. Anything like that, because it's just, first of all, it's a wonderful vehicle to insert a strong message. Like Avatar had this message of community and love. I see you, and taking care of Mother Earth. Star Wars was the same thing. Freedom versus. So shows like that, or films like that, just really get me going.
Is that something you try to get into? Is there a lot of auditions or efforts to? Do you have any efforts to make to be in a movie like that?
Well, you have an agent, but I have to say that I believe acting is possibly the most competitive thing out there, because for every movie star,
there's a million people applying for it.
Yeah, because with football or basketball, there are physical things that could, make the pool that's competing smaller.
Right.
But with acting, there is no, what's the name? One of my favorite actors, Morgan Freeman. He didn't start working until he was 50, but he was plugging along for decades, maybe, and his stuff started happening when he was 50. So the pool is much larger. I mean, just in Los Angeles, there's 100,000 members in the union. So what I like to think is that as a Hispanic actor, I have something to bring that's unique, which is a sense of fun. It's hard. It's a certain discipline and certain experience. Well, if you there's a little bit a thing I did with Danny Pino on Cold Case. That was a lot of fun, and Danny's just really cool Cuban American guy. Just what a excellent actor and an excellent scene partner. There's a little bit that I did on We Bought a Zoo, but we prefer that people have seen it somewhere other than YouTube.
Right, of course.
You know what I mean? But that Cold Case is there because I'm playing a part with that I pretend that I don't speak English, so they send in the bilingual detective to talk to me. So now I'm stuck. So I pretend that I don't know Spanish.
Now, do you have that kind of situation where they just throw you into the he's a Latino, so let's throw him in a situation where he just doesn't speak English, or he's the hood, or he's a criminal? Do you find that a lot, or do you think have they opened the opportunities now for the Latin market?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, first of all, in a series of stories, they are writing to life that they know. So if there's a certain situation where there's an undocumented worker, or there's a narco traffic, what do you call it, narcotics dealer, I'll go for those roles. I've played them. I've been killed a couple times on TV. It's fun. I have an audition tomorrow for a show called The Bridge, where I play a medical examiner. So I'm excited about that. Much more excited than I would be to play an undocumented worker. I just did an episode of Scandal on ABC, where I played a painter, a construction guy, and my boss got killed. And I really loved it because this person is trying to get me to badmouth my boss, and I'm just like, my boss just died, all right, and I don't have a job. The
Wow.
subtext being, I have a family to feed. Now, something like that to me is a very heroic thing. Just a man trying to feed his family. I mean, in today, the 21st century, to me, that's an honor to try to play somebody like that with all my heart. So yes, I believe it's opening up. I've been doing this for 12 years. I worked in an agency. That's where the app idea was born. And so I've seen all the breakdowns that go out. And yeah, it gets a little sad a little bit when, you know, Hispanic and other ethnicities are not as widely available as there are Caucasian opportunities, but it has grown steadily. And I believe good acting is good acting. You know, I like to get a job based on what I do to help the show rather than what I look like.
Right. Now, do you find that there's directors like Robert Rodriguez is someone who will take the bull by the horns and create an entire market, which I think is impressive. His line of work, for example, because he's doing content that is not, even though he's using Latin cast and sometimes crew, but the story is universal. You know, it's you know, fun for kids. It's fun for you know, horror in the horror genre, action flicks, that type of thing, and it's not necessarily aimed at a Latin market.
Right.
Does that make sense? And now, is there anybody out there that you find that's trying to do that same type of thing, where they're using that Latin cast, but is using that power, and not necessarily trying to appeal just to the Latin market, but appealing to the universal market?
Well, a big part of the thing is distribution, right? To distribute, and the marketing budget that goes to support a project, you know, $25-30 million just in advertising. You know, there has to be something in it for the people that are making that bet, whether it's Paramount or Warner Brothers or NBC or whoever. What's so brilliant about Robert Rodriguez, not that I ever met him or worked for him, but I do study him because it's admirable, is he writes and he does all the post-production. He controls it all, and he brings it in at a price that these studios say, we got to do it. The math works. The math works.
That's interesting. Okay.
He could bring in a movie for $25 million cost that would have cost them $80 million to make. So it makes sense for them to put another 25 in advertising. They come in for 50, and their people tell them, yeah, you can make money with this. And so the guy's brilliant, but he has control. He controls the actual physical production. His house is basically a small studio. I believe he even does his own music.
Yeah, I think so too. There have been some times when I've seen his credit in music.
Yeah, he is an incredible talent, but he's smart too. He's smart. He understands the economic realities that he's dealing with, and so he's made the adjustment. And he's not here. He's in Texas somewhere. I think it's Austin.
Right.
So he's not being influenced by, MBAs and bean counters. He's a filmmaker through and through. I'd love to be in a film for him. I'd sweep the floor. I sleep in the corner somewhere just so I can learn, because that's a master. The master.
Okay, so now here's where I'm gonna throw in the twist. You are an actor. You've worked in the industry for 12 years. You have a general idea of the filmmaking and the TV production, and then you threw in iOS developer. Where did that come from? How did that happen? Where did this transition occur? How'd you learn the code? I mean, there's so many questions I have, so I'm not going to throw them all at you at the same time, but kind of lay that out for me.
Well, there came a moment where, as an actor, I decided that I know what I'm doing. I can walk and talk and breathe and emote and respond and be a good member of the team. But I can't get an audition to save my life, right? So I was doing, at this time, I was doing database programming and websites, freelance here and there. I was working for some agency that would send me out to do different things. And I walked into my agent, my first agent. I walked into his office, and it took me a long time to get signed. And I walked in with photos. I had my photos. And back then, before electronic submissions, you walk in once a month with your photos to replenish the ones they sent out. And what I saw was that he hadn't sent my photos out for a month.
For a month.
I wanted to burn that building down.
Okay.
I never felt so betrayed. But my teacher, Milton Catella, says that's blame. And the cure for blame is praise. And when you praise, you cleanse yourself of this real. I mean, I wish I knew this when I was a teenager, right? So I looked around, I said, wow, that's a really nice computer. Is it new? And the guy goes, yeah, it's new. I said, do you guys have it networked? Are you guys networked together? He goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, if they're networked, they could share the printer and they could share the internet. He goes, oh my God, it's so funny you say that, because we all share that one computer because it has the printer, and we bring a little floppy and we print what we have to print. And I said, well, why don't you network it? And he said, well, we got a quote of $2,500. And I said, well, you buy the wires and you buy the router, I'll do it for free. He goes, really? I said, I never see an empty bin of photographs again. You submit me, like you said you would. So he goes, okay, deal. He's still my agent today.
That's amazing.
That's 12 years ago. So I basically networked their whole operation, built their website. I built a database so that they could send very nice letters to the casting directors without having to type it every time. They never heard of, mail merges.
Right.
And while I was doing that, one day, one of his agents quit. And it's right in the middle of pilot season, which is crazy in an agency. It's crazy. And they're having this moment, and the phone is ringing off the hook. And each one of those phone rings is an appointment. So I pick up the phone and I start taking appointments, because why should these actors suffer from opportunities? I've already been there 6 months. So I start handling this stuff while they're fighting.
Wow.
And they in the room. They're in the parking lot. And I'm running this office with all these appointments, and in between phone calls, I'm calling the actors. So I wound up working there for like 3 years. And in the time, it really changed, because first of all, I was no longer afraid of casting directors, because I talked to them 30 times a day. It's always, oh, hey, Jeannie, hey, I work over here. Oh, hi, blah, blah, blah. I started booking much faster by being an intern. Then I didn't want to intern there no more, so he offered me a position, and I took it part-time. And the whole time I was thinking, there's so many actors that don't know what I know. How can I share that with them and make enough money to pay my bills so I can survive in the game? And then one day, about 3 years ago, I saw, I was building mobile HTML5 mobile web apps, but I didn't like them. They were clunky, and it was, if you wanted to make a change, it was just a drag. And then I saw this video of Steve Jobs saying that the best entrepreneurial opportunity is to learn iPhone development. And Steve Jobs is somebody that I admire, and that's his professional opinion. I'm like, okay, I learned how to run nuclear reactors. I learned how to act. I learned how to database program. I can learn iPhone development. Well, 3 years later, I can say, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
So it took you 3 years to kind of get into the gist of the iOS development.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. It was hard. It was hard. But there's certain things that are still there, like, for example, if this, do that, else do this, else if. that structure is still there. There's the while loops are still there, but what you can do compared to something like PHP, it's night and day. So I built this app with a casting director, Scott David, a award-winning Hollywood casting director who's been casting for 17 years, and he got it. He goes, I want to help people. I want to help people. And the concept is to have a top casting director in your pocket at beck and call to give you advice on whatever topic you're interested in. There's about 50 topics. In a 1 minute, 45 seconds, or minute and a half clip, you pick. There's 50 clips. I'm interested in my costume. What's he think? How did they make the decisions? I just did great, and I didn't get the job. What happened? This guy tells you, so you feel better. I wanted actors to feel better because personally, I wanted to feel better. I'm in love with acting. Why should I suffer? Well, I suffered unnecessarily for 10 freaking years. It's like in high school, you love this girl, you have a crush on this girl, and you see her make out with every one of your friends for 10 years, except you. It kills you. Well, I wanted to alleviate that pain because I'd rather just kiss the girl. You know what I mean? So I made this app. And now we have a second casting director. I can't tell you her name at her request, but we have a second casting director, and she's in commercials. Now, commercials, to me, is a bigger mystery than theatrical. Now, an actor with 2 or 3 commercials running, they could live the whole year and just dedicate themselves to study, to doing little projects that don't pay, and the commercials running could pay. My friend, he just got a commercial for Walgreens. It's doing great. It just started running, and the checks just started arriving. The guy
is that how that works? And it's funny. I've worked on commercials, building sets or whatever. Didn't know that the actors got a cut. Is that what happens? I mean, how does that work?
It depends. If you're in the Screen Actors Guild, which is now joined with AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA, hell yeah. This company's making money off of your face. You will get paid. Now, if it's a non-union commercial, screw you, actor. Who are you? We paid you for your time. Now we own your likeness, your voice, your emotions, your life history, whatever magic you created. It's ours. Well, I don't do non-union for that reason. No way.
Excellent. Now, let's elaborate a little bit further on the app and its function. So the app is available now, or is it not yet released?
It's on iTunes. We're on version 1.4, and version 1.4 has a little problem, which I have to fix tonight. It might take about 3 days or a week before that fix is on the iTunes App Store. But yeah, it's called Scott David Casting. Scott David Casting, and if you want to know what a casting director in Hollywood working on a hit show, what the process is like for $5, are you kidding me? He's going to sell 100,000 of these. Would I want to go to an audition without being armed with that app when other people have it? Hell no. But right now, since the app is so new, whoever has it is probably the only one who has it at an audition. For example, when I got this role on Scandal, and I looked at the sign-in sheet, because for a union show, you have to sign in and send the sign-in sheets to the union. There was 25 names. Why did they pick me? Well, I spent 4 hours working on 4 lines. I think that had something to do with it.
Now, looking at the app, and I'll try my best to put it on screen. You have auditioning, you have performance, you have essence, wardrobe. So, do you know a little? Each one of those is like an audio file. Is that, or is it video based?
Yeah, those are chapters. The way the app is organized is you have a chapter. For example, auditioning is a chapter. That chapter, there's a number next to it. How many items are in that chapter? How many audio clips? I think that one's 18.
Okay.
So watch a clip, when you press that button, the first one in the line of 18 shows up, and you can listen to it, right? And then timed are bullets, emphasis points that come up like a PowerPoint presentation that come up, and you can pause and you can rewind, or you can swipe to the next one. I've already listened to this one. Just swipe to the left to go to the next clip, or swipe to the right to go to the previous clip. And so each one of those things is basically swiping. And each clip is like 30, 40 seconds. And then there's just like in Facebook app, there's a menu behind where you slide the whole screen over and you could jump. You know, I've already heard this one. Let me jump to the sixth one. What's that? Boom. And then you close it and you listen. And so there's about an hour of advice and explanation from a person who has hired 5,000, 7,000 actors. I asked him how many people he's hired. He has no idea.
Now, how do you recommend, let's visualize this actor using this app. When would be the appropriate time to start really getting into this? Should they be using this and reading this before they even think about being an actor? Should they be focusing on it? You know what? I have an audition in 2 days. Maybe I should, read this or listen to this and start sharpening up my skills. When do you recommend they start using this app?
Okay, good. That's a great question. First of all, when we designed with Scott, myself, and this beautiful, super talented actress, Anzu Lawson, we got together. And because Scott has been teaching, he's been giving casting workshops for years, like 3 or 4 a week for years. So he's very comfortable teaching. So we asked him things that we were interested in. Anzu and I, who's also a working actor, what we're interested in, and we didn't play diplomacy, we didn't kiss his butt, is I want to know this, and I want to know this. And then he would say, well, I'll answer those questions, but you should also know this. I say, oh, shit, really? Okay. So it's really for all levels, because a lot of the questions that came were from my time in the university, and in the agency. So I can tell you the last time I used the app was in the parking lot, from walking from my car to the audition. I put the app on my ears, and I listened to a couple of subjects. Plus, I was going out for a co-star role. There's one title called co-star. So I've done all my work. Like I said, I worked 4 hours on these lines. I knew who I was. I had a point of view on my boss. I had something to do, somewhere to go. I was coming from somewhere. So I wanted to create that life. So I worked on it. I practiced it for about 4 hours. So I'm a little bit like this because I'm also dealing with security, and I'm at the set on the studio lot, and so when I walk over there, I'm listening to this, and it settles me. It's nothing I haven't heard before. I've been training as an actor for 10 years. It's nothing that I haven't heard before. But at that moment, when I need it most, to just focus, that is the gold.
Huh.
And I believe that is the advantage I had over the other 25 probably wonderful, certainly qualified actors going for this role, because this casting company is no joke. Linda Lowy and John Brace are no joke. They're wonderful casting. I mean, they cast Grey's Anatomy, Private Practice. Remember that show, Karen Sisko? Wonderful casting director. They know what they're doing, So I'm not up against beginners.
Right.
But it really helped me. I settled into a place where it was like, I know exactly what they want, and I'm going to give it to them.
That sounds, think of those movie scenes where, let's say, for example, it's a karate fight, and the guy about to fight starts remembering his master. You know what I'm talking about? It's like you hear the master in his ear, or even like in Star Wars, where he's about to fly into the scene, shoot those torpedoes, and he hears Obi-Wan speaking, "Use the Force, Luke." And it's funny because it makes sense what you're saying. You're right about to do this audition, and you're listening to the master, I guess, speaking in your ear and saying, things that will help you hone in and focus on your skill.
Yeah, but you can imagine this. That's very astute that you point that out. But imagine this. I've listened to these clips 50, 60, 70 times each because I was constantly testing and constantly building at one at a time, and I had to test them all. So I know this stuff
Right.
word for word.
While you're writing the application, right?
Exactly. It took like 7, 8 months or something like that. So when I was there was another audition that I had that did I book that? No, but I did very well. It just suits me. It's like, you get riled as a professional pitcher. The coach comes out and talks to the guy. In football they call a timeout. The quarterback goes over and talks to the coach. He's not going to tell him anything new, but he's going to tell him exactly what he should have at that moment. The difference here is you pick. One person may be a little bit nervous about their wardrobe. Should I wear a wardrobe? Like I have an audition tomorrow. I'm going to wear a surgical smock. Why? Because with my face, I've gotten jobs as a drug dealer.
Right.
So I want them to believe me as a medical examiner, as a coroner.
That's interesting. I find that really interesting because if you walk in looking like the part, I see what you're saying because you don't want to be typecasted. You want them to be able to see you in the part that you're walking up into.
Well, I know this, right? But I listened to the app just as soon as I got the audition on Friday, and I listened to that chapter, and I'm like, yeah, I am going to wear the smock because initially I said, nah, I'm not going to. They know me. Nah.
Huh.
These are the casting directors of The Shield. I worked The Shield twice. They cast me in the Riches, and I know these guys. They're wonderful, but you know what? I'm wearing the thing for me.
Right.
And so I checked in on the app to see his viewpoint, and it confirmed my choice. And it's like I don't have to think about that anymore.
Right. Okay.
I could think about other things, and I'm just going to put on a surgical, thing. And then my friend said, "You're going to wear this?" No, it's not necessary. It's for me. For that.
Now, I haven't auditioned for anything. So, let's say I wanted to be an actor. Would you recommend this app in that situation? Or would you say, you know what, get your feet wet first, and then once you start getting used to what the app is talking about, then listening to the app will familiarize you with what he's talking about?
Well, if you want to be an actor, right? You want to talk and listen to somebody who describes what their day is like, seeing 100 actors a day and only giving jobs to 6 of them. To me, I'd want that, especially if it costs less than a beer in a bar.
Mm-hmm. And the app is $4.99 on the App Store.
$4.99. We could have made it $7.99. We could have made it $10.99. We could make it whatever we want.
Extremely affordable to have when you consider acting school or even talking to someone who's going to sit there and guide you through things. $4.99 is nothing.
It took me like 5 years. 5 years. If I had that app, maybe it would have taken me 5 years to be good at audition. It would have taken me 1 year. That's an extraordinary amount of money that could be made in that 4 years. Acting's the best paying job I've ever had.
Interesting.
Paying job. Except I don't work 250 days a year like I would like to.
Now, does it have anything that helps you memorize your lines?
No.
Oh, okay.
I
won't be good at this then.
Scott David has a chapter, a topic, we call it. He talks for a little bit about memorizing lines, and his preference is yes. Some acting school says don't memorize the lines. Well, we understand why he likes to memorize the lines. So what I do is I carry the lines with me, on a piece of paper, and I never look at them. This way, they're not worried that I'm going to go off in some weird direction.
Okay.
I show 'em I know how to memorize. I prefer to memorize because um, it just happens. I try not to memorize. I try to feel what I'm saying, why I'm saying it, why am I saying this and not something else. I try to feel it, and that happens with repetition. And as it starts connecting with my feeling, I start getting specific. It's just there.
Hmm.
And then it sounds, to me, it sounds forced. It doesn't sound natural. So I have to keep running it over and over to get it sound natural. And by the time I'm there, it's memorized. But what I found, what happens to me, if it's an emotional scene, about 30% of my memory goes flying out my head.
Hmm.
So in order to make sure that those lines don't go flying out, I got to get it in my bones. And that's what happens with when you're on set. You know, one time, I was doing a scene with Jerry O'Connell on Crossing Jordan, and I had this long speech, and I was a little cocky. I was on a roll, and I didn't give it the amount of time that I've given other things, and I went up. I could not remember the lines.
Wow.
Just 60 people looking at me, you know, and I'm like, holy, so I'm sorry, blah blah blah. I've never sweated so much in my life. I had this, right? And then Jerry goes, hey man, Jerry O'Connell, the actor, wonderful. He says, hey man, don't worry about it. We've all gone up.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've been in films where the big lead actors would just forget their lines, and they'll just have to they take a little break. They kind of read over it again, and it's incredible to watch because you recognize these folks, and as a film watcher, you watch everybody just do the line. You never think that they're doing 50 takes on the same thing. So
the thing was, when Jerry said it to me, he had such a sincerity and like a twinkle in his eye when he said it. The next take was perfect. The next 3-4 takes were perfect. So why was I forgetting them? Because I was messing my own head. I was punishing myself.
Right.
There was some other song playing. Rather than the song of art, there was a song of criticism going on. And this guy, with the loving gesture to another guy, just said, hey, man, don't worry about it. We've all gone up.
Okay, so now let's. What is the future of this app? What you mentioned other casting directors. What else do you think you'll be doing with this app, or other apps that you might be doing?
Well, on this app, what I want to do is, my goal is eventually have to me, I think it would be very promising for my career as an actor if I helped 15, 20 casting directors monetize, make money with their experience and their knowledge and their communication to other actors of how to make this better. So I want to create a library of 2025, and I make a piece off of everything. I'm acting like a publisher,
Nice.
but they make the lion's share. And I think that would be very good for my career. At the same time, I used to play poker, and I used to get my ass wiped in poker, getting kicked. So I would love to connect with some poker players
And create an app like that.
yeah, help them, help people, because it's not just knowing it, it's getting knowledge that you already know, like from a coach at a critical time. So these guys could be at the casino playing Texas Hold'em and just, having the app playing, and maybe it will affect the way maybe it will affect their nights. And the other thing I would like to do is I went to see this wonderful stand-up comic last night, named Lou Santini. And this guy just blew me away with his jokes. I felt so good afterwards. And I said, man, did you see Scott David's app? Because he's an actor. So why don't you see Scott David's app? It's because I have a, what do you call those old phones? A BlackBerry.
Okay, the old phones. Wow.
Okay. Because don't
The
give me
brick phones. Yes.
iPhone 5 next month when my contract's up. I said, good. It says, take a look at Scott's app and imagine your voice instead of teaching actors, telling jokes, making people feel good. People are always texting or whatever. Have one less text and listen to a joke. it might make you feel better. To me, it's just so important about what feelings are. I mean, my whole life was denying my feelings. Now I'm an actor. It's all about being very specific with my feelings, and like, wow, feelings are really important. Yeah. Also, I'm a huge fan of YouTube. I'm a huge fan of YouTube, and I want to create some apps taking account of YouTube, because YouTube's a little bit of a pain in the butt inside of a phone, but inside of a YouTube app aimed at, for example, a certain topic. Like I'm working on one for politics.
Okay.
I'm a progressive. I'm a liberal. I'm proud of it. I want to make this progressive liberal YouTube app. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but I know what the code's going to be. Content. To me, it's all about content.
Right.
Technology. If you gamble on technology, well, you better be a genius. So that's why with teaching is about content. With the YouTube apps that I'm playing with, it's going to be about content. Obviously, the technology is going to grow, but I'll just ride on Apple's coattails.
Well, awesome. Well, I mean, it's been a great pleasure to finally meet you. I have spoken to
Lounge app.
Yes, and we'll discuss that. I do appreciate your interest in that. Been talking to Soy about you very often, and when you talked about this application on Facebook a few weeks back, almost like a month back, I knew I had to at least get a chance to talk to you about it. And here in Atlanta, there's a very big independent scene, independent filmmakers and musicians and all type of stuff. And I think it'd be a great application for all these actors who are starting to shift down here from the local states who want to get involved in this film industry to be able to use this app and maybe help their careers a little bit. But I wanted to get it from, for lack of better words, the horse's mouth, the person who's actually putting that app together. And it would have been cool maybe if we had gotten Scott involved, but I'd rather be able to discuss things with you and get an idea of what the application was about. So I do appreciate you not only coming on my show, but also sharing the information about this app. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Robert Montesinos. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Carlos, thank you. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Thank you.
And just to tell you, this one app has been going to you can't believe how many times a week I'm hit by people saying, hey, can you do an app for me? But the one that I really want to do is called Soy Sauce. What it is my sister has this taste for Hispanic music that is just so impressive. I said, let's make an app out of that. Soy Sauce, where somebody could just get turned on to what Mati Soy thinks about Hispanic music. Because she's turned me on to some cool ass Hispanic. I mean, I'm like ignorant.
And for those who watch The Lounge, and if you're into the website, you'll see that there's another show where it says Lounge Show. Soy is Robert's sister, and she has Soy Fabulous, which is a great show that she puts together. And she travels between New York and Miami, and it relates to and she talks to independent filmmakers and also very A-list filmmakers in the Latin market, and also the musicians in the Latin market. And she does a great job with those shows. And so Soy Sauce sounds like it should have been the original name instead of Soy Fabulous. That sounds awesome.
No, it's just a different. She's expanding. She's branding. She's, vertical integration. My sister's just a bomb. I love her.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
And so I want to surprise her with the app.
Well, if you need any help, just let me know.
All right.
I'll try and maybe sneak things around with her, and she'll be like, "What are you talking about?" So. Okay, thank you guys for watching. TheLoungeMagazine.com is where you can catch this episode and many more. And Robert, thank you once again. Hopefully we'll catch up again soon when you have a little bit more on the app that you might want to promote.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Take care, guys, and have a great night.